The sound of the slap echoed across the backyard. The music stopped. Every conversation died in an instant. My 90-year-old Grandma Ruth stumbled backward, one hand pressed against her cheek. Her glasses fell into the grass. No one moved. Then my mother-in-law, Diane, folded her arms like she had done nothing wrong. "You should learn to stay out of other people's business," she snapped. Grandma slowly bent down, picked up her glasses, and put them back on, without saying a word. She looked Diane straight in the eyes. "I understand," she said softly. That was all. No yelling, no crying, no threats. But something about the way Grandma smiled made my stomach twist. Because I knew that smile. It was the same smile she wore whenever she had already figured something out. And before the sun went down, our family would never be the same again. My name is Emily Carter. Until that afternoon, I believed every family eventually found peace. I was wrong. I had been married to my husband Daniel for 8 years. He was kind, hardworking, and loved everyone, sometimes too much. Especially his mother. Diane believed she knew what was best for everyone. She wasn't cruel all the time. She brought food when someone was sick. She remembered birthdays. She donated to church every month. To outsiders, she looked like the perfect woman. But inside the family, everything had to be about her. If someone bought a new car, she had a better one. If someone got promoted, her job was harder. If someone shared good news, she somehow became the center of attention. And if anyone challenged her, she never forgot. Grandma Ruth was the only person who never seemed afraid of her. Grandma didn't argue. She didn't gossip. She simply watched people. She noticed things others ignored. As a retired elementary school teacher, she used to joke that children and adults weren't all that different. "They always tell you who they are," she'd say. "You just have to listen." I loved spending time with her. She made everyone feel important. Even Diane couldn't completely ignore her. At least, not at first. Everything started changing after Grandpa Henry passed away 2 years earlier. Grandma moved into a small guest house behind my husband and my home. She wanted to stay close to family but remain independent. She still baked pies every Sunday. She still tended her little flower garden. She still sent birthday cards to every grandchild by mail because she believed handwritten notes mattered. Everyone adored her. Except Diane. At first, the comments were small. Grandma forgets things. Grandma shouldn't cook anymore. Grandma needs someone making decisions for her. They sounded caring. But something underneath them felt wrong. Almost like Diane wanted everyone to believe Grandma wasn't capable anymore. One evening, after dinner, I overheard Diane talking to Daniel in the kitchen. "Your grandmother is getting old," she whispered. "Someone needs to start handling her finances." Daniel frowned. "Grandma's perfectly capable. For now." Her voice stayed calm. "But older people get confused." I walked in before she noticed me listening. The conversation ended immediately, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. A few weeks later, Grandma invited me over for tea. She handed me a warm blueberry muffin. "You've been worried," she said. I laughed. "Am I that obvious? You've stirred your tea 5 times without drinking it." I smiled. She was right. I finally told her about Diane's comments. Grandma listened quietly. Then she nodded. "I know." "You know?" "Oh yes." "Doesn't it bother you?" She looked out the window toward her roses. "Emily, people reveal themselves when they think no one is paying attention." "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, she changed the subject. "How's work?" That was Grandma. She answered questions only when she was ready. Summer arrived. Daniel suggested hosting a big family barbecue. Everyone agreed. Over 40 relatives showed up. Kids played tag. Uncles grilled burgers. Aunts laughed over lemonade. For a little while, everything felt normal. Then Diane arrived. She stepped out of her SUV, carrying expensive desserts. Within minutes, she was directing everyone. No, put those chairs over there. No, the burgers are cooking too fast. Emily, smile more. Guests notice these things. I bit my tongue. Grandma simply kept arranging flowers on the table. A few cousins rolled their eyes behind Diane's back. Nobody confronted her. Nobody ever did. Later that afternoon, Grandma noticed little Lily trying to carry a heavy pitcher of lemonade. Grandma hurried over. Careful, sweetheart. She reached for the pitcher. Before Lily could hand it over, Diane stormed across the yard. I said I'd handle this. Grandma smiled gently. I was only helping. I don't need your help. Everyone looked over. Grandma quietly stepped back. Then Diane muttered something that made my blood boil. Maybe if you remembered your place, people wouldn't have to babysit you. Several relatives exchanged uncomfortable glances. Grandma stayed silent. She picked up a napkin and wiped the table instead. I thought it was over. I was wrong. An hour later, everyone gathered for family photos. The photographer asked Grandma to sit in the center. After all, she was the oldest family member. As Grandma slowly walked toward the chair, Diane suddenly stepped in front of her. I think someone younger should sit there. The photographer looked confused. But before he could finish, Grandma politely continued walking. She hadn't heard Diane. Or maybe she chose not to. Diane's face turned bright red. Then, she raised her hand. The slap rang across the yard. No one breathed. Grandma's glasses hit the ground. Daniel shouted, "Mom!" Children started crying. I rushed toward Grandma, but she gently squeezed my hand. "It's all right." She picked up her glasses, straightened her dress, and looked directly at Diane. "I understand." Then she quietly walked inside the house. No anger. No tears. Nothing. That scared me more than if she had screamed. Because Grandma Ruth never gave up. She simply waited. And late that night, as I carried empty dishes into the kitchen, I saw Grandma sitting alone at the dining table. In front of her lay an old leather folder. Inside it were faded photographs, a stack of letters, and one sealed envelope with Diane's full name written across the front. Grandma gently rested her hand on it. Then she whispered 6 words that sent chills through me. "The truth has waited long enough." I had no idea what was inside that envelope, but I knew one thing. Grandma wasn't planning revenge. She was planning justice. I stood frozen in the kitchen doorway. Grandma Ruth looked up from the old leather folder. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. "Emily, would you close the door?" I did. She carefully slid the sealed envelope back inside the folder. "You saw more than I intended." "I'm sorry," I said. "I wasn't trying to snoop." "I know." I hesitated. "What's in the envelope?" Grandma folded her hands on the table. "The reason Diane is so afraid of losing control." My heart skipped. "You've known all this time." She nodded. "For years." "Then why didn't you tell anyone?" "Because timing matters." She looked tired for the first time that day. If you expose the truth too early, people defend the lie. I wanted to ask 100 more questions. Instead, she stood. "It's late. We'll talk soon." Then she carried the folder into her bedroom and quietly locked the door. I barely slept that night. The next morning, Daniel sat at the kitchen table with his head in his hands. "I can't believe Mom slapped Grandma." He looked completely broken. I've called her 6 times. No answer. What do we do? I poured him coffee. I think you should visit Grandma first. He nodded. When we walked to the guest house, Grandma was already outside watering her flowers. She smiled like nothing had happened. Daniel rushed over. Grandma, I'm so sorry. You didn't slap me, but she's my mother. Grandma gently touched his shoulder. And you're still my grandson. His eyes filled with tears. I'll make this right. Grandma gave a small smile. I hope so. She never once asked him to choose between her and Diane. That made Daniel cry even harder. Meanwhile, Diane acted as if she had done nothing wrong. She posted smiling photos from the barbecue online. She cropped Grandma completely out of every picture. Under one photo she wrote, "Another wonderful day surrounded by family." The comments poured in. Beautiful family. You're such an amazing host. Everyone is lucky to have you. I stared at the screen in disbelief. She was rewriting the entire day. When I showed Grandma the post, she only shrugged. People can edit photographs. They can't edit truth forever. A few days later, my phone rang. It was my cousin Megan. You'll never believe this. What happened? Diane is telling everyone Grandma has memory problems. What? She's saying Grandma imagined the slap. I nearly dropped the phone. That's impossible. I know. But some relatives are starting to believe her. I hung up feeling sick. Now I understood. This wasn't just about one slap. Diane was trying to destroy Grandma's credibility. If no one believed Grandma, no one would believe anything she said in the future. That evening, I visited Grandma again. She was baking peach cobbler. The sweet smell filled the kitchen. You already know, don't you? I asked. She nodded. Diane has started her campaign. Why is she doing this? Grandma carefully placed the pie into the oven. Because she's afraid. Afraid of what? Instead of answering, Grandma opened a small wooden drawer. Inside were neat stacks of letters, tied with faded blue ribbon. She handed me one. The paper was nearly 20 years old. It was addressed to Grandpa Henry. I read only the first few lines before looking up. This is from Diane. Grandma nodded. Keep reading. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't threatening. It was desperate. Diane had borrowed a large amount of money from Grandpa many years earlier. She promised to repay every dollar. There was even a repayment schedule written by hand. But halfway through the letter, the payment stopped. I looked up. She never paid him back? Grandma slowly shook her head. No. How much? Grandma quietly named the amount. It was enough to buy a small house back then. I stared in disbelief. But Grandpa never mentioned this. He didn't want the family divided, so he forgave the debt. Grandma sighed. That's what everyone believes. What do you mean? She reached into the folder again. This time she removed another document. It wasn't a letter. It was a signed agreement. At the bottom was Diane's signature. And Grandpa's, along with one sentence highlighted in yellow. If repayment is not completed, ownership of the lake cabin shall return to Henry and Ruth Carter. I blinked twice. The lake cabin. The one Diane keeps calling hers. Grandma nodded. Legally, it never became hers. I could barely breathe. Every Christmas, every family reunion, every birthday celebration. Diane had proudly welcomed everyone to what she called her cabin. She constantly reminded relatives how hard she had worked to earn it. But according to the signed agreement, she had never fulfilled the conditions. Meaning, the cabin still belonged to Grandma. This changes everything, I whispered. Grandma calmly folded the papers. No, it simply reveals what has always been true. But why haven't you taken it back? I asked. Grandma looked toward the window. Because Daniel loved making memories there. I wouldn't punish innocent people to settle an old debt. I felt tears forming. After everything Diane had done, Grandma had still protected her family. That wasn't weakness. That was strength. But after the slap, Grandma's expression changed. It stopped being about property. It became about character. Over the next week, strange things began happening. Several relatives called me. Each conversation sounded almost the same. Diane says Grandma is getting confused. Diane says she's making up old stories. Diane says someone should probably take over her finances. The pattern was obvious now. Diane wasn't simply defending herself. She was laying the groundwork to take control of Grandma's estate. Every rumor served one purpose: make Grandma seem incapable. Then no one would question Diane's decisions. I felt angry, but Grandma stayed calm. She's moving too fast, Grandma said. When people rush, they make mistakes. 2 days later, one of those mistakes arrived. Daniel checked the mailbox. Among the bills was an official-looking envelope. It was addressed to Grandma. Inside was paperwork requesting financial guardianship. The person requesting authority over Grandma's finances was Diane. Daniel's face turned white. She actually filed this. Grandma quietly read every page. Then she smiled. Not because she was happy, because she had expected it. She walked to her desk, opened another drawer, and removed a small digital recorder. I've been keeping records. My eyes widened. Records? She nodded. Conversations, letters, documents, witness statements. She looked directly at me. I hoped I'd never need them. Daniel swallowed hard. Grandma, how much do you actually know? Grandma answered without hesitation. Enough to protect this family. Just then, her phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, then smiled. It's the attorney, she answered. After only 2 minutes, she thanked him and hung up. What did he say? I asked. Grandma carefully placed the phone on the table. He confirmed every document. The cabin, the debt, the agreement. Everything is legally valid. Silence filled the room. Then Grandma looked at the calendar hanging beside the refrigerator. One date had been circled in bright red. Next Saturday, the Carter family reunion. Nearly 60 relatives would be there. Grandma quietly closed the folder. I think, she said softly, our family deserves the truth. As thunder rolled outside, I realized exactly what she meant. Next Saturday, Diane wasn't walking into another celebration. She was walking into the day her entire life would be exposed. The Carter family reunion had always been the happiest day of the year. Every summer, relatives traveled from across the country to gather at the old lake cabin. Children fished from the dock. Teenagers played volleyball. The older folks sat under the oak trees, telling stories that somehow grew more dramatic every year. But this year, no one knew they were about to witness something none of them would ever forget. Only Grandma Ruth knew. And she arrived carrying the same old leather folder. Diane stood near the front porch, greeting everyone with her usual bright smile. Welcome. It's so good to see you. Help yourselves to the food. She hugged cousins. She laughed with neighbors. If someone had never met her before, they would have thought she was the kindest woman alive. Then Grandma stepped out of Daniel's truck. The conversations around the yard grew quieter. Some relatives looked uncomfortable. Others looked guilty. The story Diane had spread over the past week had worked. Several people believed Grandma was confused. A few even whispered as she walked by. Poor thing, I heard she's forgetting a lot lately. Grandma heard every word. She simply smiled and kept walking. After lunch, Diane clinked her glass with a spoon. I'd like everyone's attention. The crowd slowly gathered. As many of you know, our family has always believed in taking care of one another. She paused dramatically. Sometimes that means making difficult decisions. She glanced toward Grandma. Our elderly loved ones deserve protection. A few people nodded. Daniel looked confused. What are you talking about, Mom? Diane sighed as if carrying a heavy burden. It breaks my heart to say this, but Grandma Ruth's memory has been getting worse. A shocked silence spread through the crowd. I've already started looking into ways to help manage her affairs before someone takes advantage of her. Several relatives exchanged worried looks. Then Diane added the lie that made my blood boil. After all, she doesn't even remember what happened at the barbecue. I saw Daniel clench his fists. Before he could speak, Grandma slowly stood. I remember. Her voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it. Diane forced a smile. Grandma, maybe we should talk privately. No. Grandma's calm eyes swept across the family. We've had enough private conversations. Grandma walked to the center of the yard. She wasn't angry. She wasn't shaking. She looked exactly like the teacher she had been for 40 years. Quiet. Patient. Certain. She opened the leather folder. I've listened to many stories about myself this week. She looked at Diane. Now I'd like to tell one of my own. No one interrupted. You've been told that I'm confused. She held up a small stack of papers. So before I begin, she smiled, I'd like everyone to know these documents were reviewed by an attorney 3 days ago. Diane's confident expression flickered. Just for a second. Then it returned. Grandma, I think you're misunderstanding. Grandma gently raised one finger. Please don't interrupt. The entire yard fell silent. Grandma held up the first document. 22 years ago, Diane borrowed a large sum of money from my husband and me. Several relatives gasped. Diane laughed nervously. That was settled years ago, was it? Grandma handed copies of the agreement to Daniel, Megan, and 2 of the family elders. They quietly read the pages, then looked up in surprise. Daniel frowned. This says, he looked at his mother. You agreed to repay Grandpa. Diane quickly answered. I did. Grandma nodded. You began. Then she held up another document. The payments stopped after 18 months. No one spoke. Grandma continued. The agreement clearly states that if repayment stopped, she paused. The lake cabin would legally return to Grandpa Henry and me. The family elder adjusted his glasses. He slowly read the highlighted sentence aloud. Every word matched exactly. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Diane's smile disappeared. That's impossible, Diane shouted. Henry forgave the debt. Grandma gently shook her head. He forgave your embarrassment. He never forgave the agreement. Then Grandma handed everyone another document. It was Grandpa Henry's handwritten journal. One page had been marked with a ribbon. Daniel read it aloud. I hope Diane finishes paying one day. If she doesn't, Ruth may choose mercy. But the cabin remains ours until that promise is kept. Daniel stopped reading. His hands trembled. Grandpa wrote this himself. Grandma nodded. 2 years before he passed away. Every eye turned toward Diane. She looked trapped, but she still wasn't finished. You're doing this because you're angry about one little slap. Grandma slowly touched her cheek. The slap hurt. She lowered her hand. But that's not why we're here. She reached into the folder one last time. Then she placed a small digital recorder on the picnic table. I hoped I'd never need this. She pressed play. The recording crackled. Then Diane's voice filled the yard. If everyone thinks Ruth is losing her memory, getting control of her money will be easy. The yard went completely still. Another voice spoke. It was one of Diane's friends. What if someone finds out? Diane laughed. By then it'll be too late. Nobody believes old people anyway. The recording ended. No one moved. A little boy stopped tossing his baseball. Even the birds seemed quiet. Daniel stared at his mother as if he had never seen her before. "Mom," his voice cracked. "You actually said that." Diane opened her mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time in years, no one rushed to defend her. No one made excuses. No one blamed someone else. The truth was simply too clear. Tears filled Diane's eyes. I never meant, Grandma interrupted gently. No, you meant every word. Another long silence followed. Finally, Diane broke. She sat down on the porch steps and covered her face. I was jealous. The words came out in a whisper. Everyone listened. I spent my whole life feeling like Henry loved you more than me. Grandma's expression softened. I wasn't trying to steal the cabin. She looked around at the family. I wanted people to respect me. Instead, she had spent years trying to control them, and in the process, she had pushed them away. Daniel slowly walked toward his mother. For a moment, I thought he might yell. Instead, he said quietly, "You didn't lose our respect today. You lost our trust." Those words hurt more than any shout could have. Diane cried openly, not because she had been exposed, because she finally understood what her choices had cost. Everyone waited for Grandma. She held every legal advantage. She owned the cabin. She had proof of the unpaid debt. She could have taken everything. Instead, she closed the folder. I don't want revenge. She looked directly at Diane. I want honesty. She took a deep breath. The debt is forgiven. The family gasped. But, Grandma continued, the cabin will be placed into a family trust. No one will own it alone. It will belong to every generation that comes after us. Tears filled Daniel's eyes. Several cousins started clapping. Then more joined in. Not because Diane had been humiliated, but because Grandma had chosen to end a cycle that had poisoned the family for years. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the lake, Diane slowly walked over to Grandma. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame anyone else. She simply whispered, "I'm sorry." Grandma looked at her for a long moment. Then she reached out and held her hand. "Spend the rest of your life proving those words." Diane nodded through tears. "I will." Whether everyone forgave her that day didn't matter. Forgiveness takes time. Trust takes even longer. But healing had finally begun. As our family gathered for one last photograph, Grandma was once again seated in the center. This time, no one questioned it. When the camera flashed, I looked at the woman whose quiet strength had changed all of us. Grandma never raised her hand. She never shouted. She never sought revenge for revenge's sake. She simply let the truth arrive when everyone was finally ready to hear it. And sometimes, the strongest person in the family isn't the one who speaks the loudest. It's the one who waits patiently for the truth to speak for them.